The subscription model as we know it is changing fast. But what is going to change in the new year? Hi, I'm Alex, the CTO of Codelevate, and we help AI-powered SaaS businesses build successful products. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Every month we share new insights for technical companies, CTOs, and startup founders. The future isn't about seats or subscription models. It's about actions and bringing value to your customers on a monthly basis. In 2026, what you're going to experience is that more and more people will start evaluating what are my monthly subscriptions and what I'm getting from it. And people are starting to shift more into a perspective of what actually I do with the software that I'm using. This is absolutely amazing for customers, but as a founder, that brings a lot of risks on your side. So today I'm going to explain you what is the trend in 2026 and how you can navigate this new way of expectations from your users and how you can adjust your startup so you can minimize the risk but still provide value to your users. Why is this changing and where is the value gap increasing? Well, there's three specific cases. You have first the smaller customers. They pay per seat or some subscription model, and maybe they log in one day 8 hours and they work with your platform, but on the next day or in the next month, their usage is very low. However, they continue to pay the same amount of price despite of their usage. Then you go on the enterprise level. Well, they have more seats, let's say 1,000 seats, but how much of percentage of these 1,000 seats are using it every hour or throughout the whole day? Again, you have a lot of fluctuations and differences that the enterprises are starting to evaluate and see is really bringing the value and the amount that I'm paying worth based on how many users are using it. And then you have the third part, which is API usage. Then you have again per seat model. However, again, APIs and the usage that you're using is fluctuating all the time. You can use one day 1,000 calls and on the next day, maybe none. So in all these three cases, you're starting to see that the value gap is starting to increase because people are starting to look at how much am I using and what is the value that it brings me on a daily basis. So usage-based pricing. For your users, the pros are very obvious. They can start most of the time for free and they are paying only for what they're using on a monthly basis. So they immediately see the value and understand that for what they're paying, they know what they're getting. However, as a founder, this could be a complete nightmare. What can lead to very unpredictable revenues based on the usage can scale to situations where the costs of serving your customer can be higher than the actual revenue that you're receiving. This brings us to the most important part of the video. If you're a SaaS founder, this is the most important thing you need to remember. So here's the actionable tip you can do in order to negotiate the proper usage-based pricing. A pure usage model is bringing all the risk on you, the founder, the owner of the platform. If we're taking the hybrid model, we have to look at a different way of structuring the business model. You're taking a base fee that allows your user to be onboarded on the platform. That base fee is covering two things. First, it covers your platform costs for hosting and serving your users, but also it plays a role to provide value to your users by giving them a generous free tier usage that is covered within that base fee. That could be a free 1,000 API calls every month, or maybe 10 AI reports. What that brings you is you have the recurring monthly revenue to have hosting and ability to serve your customers. And then you have the usage base to start charging them either per API call or per usage, or maybe you can make it even more easier to batch them, let's say 1,000 API calls or 10 AI reports. An example that I can give between good and bad is, let's say if we start with the bad one, let's say you're charging 10 cents an API call. If the user makes 1,000 calls, you get $100. However, if the user doesn't make any API calls, you make $0. But you still need to cover the costs of hosting your platform and hosting their data and being prepared for when they need to call your platform again. The good model is the following. You have a base fee of, let's say, $50, and that gives them 500 calls every month. And then after the 500 calls, you start charging them again 10 cents a call. What that brings you, it covers your monthly costs, but it again provides the value that per usage based pricing gives your users. Then the good model is you have this hybrid approach where you have the monthly subscription fee, which covers your base costs, but then gives the user again value by providing them free tier. And then after the 1,000 calls, you have per usage base where you charge, let's say, 10 cents a call. That way, you are covering your costs, but also you're providing value to your users. So going into 2026, the conversation is not about price change. It's about value that you bring to your users. What you need to do is have a very honest conversation with yourself or with your team about the values that you're bringing your users. And when you're thinking about features, you cannot just think about if they're going to be used or not, but features that are increasing the usage that your users have. That is directly tied to the value that you're providing to them. Another part of the formula is that you need to know your costs extremely well. So if you're charging per API call, you need to know exactly how much that API call costs. And this is why you need a technical partner who understands the business of SaaS, not just the code. And that's the philosophy and approach we take at Codelevate. If you're interested in SaaS and you have more ideas for topics like these, please leave a comment below.